The Nigerian electoral process witnessed a very uncommon, unprecedented, if you ask me, twist in Adamawa State during the supplementary gubernatorial election that was held on the 15th of April 2023, when drama played out with the erroneous, so to speak, declaration of APC candidate in that election, Senator Aisha Binani, as winner of the election when the process was still ongoing. And this caused a lot of tension both in Adamawa State and even beyond, as many Nigerians were beginning to ask questions of what was exactly going on. Results were still trickling in when this declaration was made by the resident electoral commissioner in Adamawa State. Even though there was a timely intervention, but that is not to rule out that the fact that a lot of people were taken aback by this development. What does this portend for Nigeria's electoral system? And it's also noteworthy that despite all the drama that played out, the Independent National Electoral Commissioner had already announced the winner of that election, and that's the incumbent governor of the state, now governor-elect of the state as well. That's just to clarify. Now, we would be looking at some of the issues that could have played out before we saw what we saw on that day, before what transpired actually took place, what could have caused it, what exactly was INEC doing for it to allow such a lapse to occur during the election, and how can the law rectify this sort of situation? What could have caused it as well? Is there a provision in the Constitution that calls for such a situation during election, during the electoral process? All of these things we'll be looking at together with other issues regarding the Adamawa poll held on Saturday. Good morning. Thank you for being part of the program. It's Public Square, and I am Olabisi Olani Oluwasegun. In the studio this morning, I have two lawyers that would be talking to us regarding these incident, one in the studio, the other out studio, and then I have a public affairs analyst as well. You thought I was going to call him a lawyer? I know what I'm doing. Okay, yeah, so I have Mr. Femi Omoshiwa. All right, he's a lawyer and is right here in the studio with us. Thank you for coming.
Good morning, Nigerians.
And we'll also speak with Mr. Tolu Babaleye, who is as well a legal practitioner. He talks to us all the way from Abuja. In the course of the program, we would get across to him. And I have Mr. Johnson Alabi right here with us as well. He is a public affairs analyst, an engineer by profession.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Pipati.
My name is Olabisi Olani Oluwasegun. We'll go on a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. When we started to hear reports of what was going on in Adamawa State on Sunday morning when that declaration was made, I'm sure that as a lawyer, a lot of questions would have, creeped in, and you might start to wonder what exactly could be the situation in faraway Adamawa State. Now, let's hear your view on what you think could have happened, could have played out. How would you describe that situation as a lawyer?
Thank you very much. The news, by the time we heard it, I know it shocked Nigerians to the chagrin, and to their disbelief that with all the achievements that we have recorded as far as 2023 general election is concerned, despite the fact that INEC is still being blamed, but the chunk of the numbers of Nigerians praised INEC, especially by introducing beavers. Though INEC was saddled with the responsibility by law to conduct election, but how INEC is going to conduct election, it is the prerogative of INEC, and it is the prerogative of INEC to make sure that they are not subjugated, and they are not the process is not messed up. So if anybody is saying it was not their what's it called, their system was not uploaded or what have you, nobody knows when INEC would do that, because if INEC should do that early enough and makes mistake, people will still criticize INEC. So that INEC did not upload as and when they wanted INEC to do that, I think I score whoever that is criticizing INEC, I score them 0 on that. They should have waited till when INEC finishes their assignment and upload. Now to relate it to what happened in Adamawa last weekend. It is quite unfortunate that where in military parlance, the GOC is supposed to be seen as supervising what is happening at the war front, where the commandant of the battalion is supposed to be pushing the people to the war front. The GOC is saddled with responsibility that he must see to hit that the success of what they are doing is achieved. I liken the rec man to be the GOC here, and I liken the professor who is an ad hoc staff, I like him to be the man in charge of the battalion at the war front. It is not the responsibility of the rec to announce an election. The responsibility of rec is to the resident electoral commissioner is to supervise the conduct of the election, and in the humility and magnanimity and let me still call it humility of INEC. INEC decided to say, okay, we are umpire, but we still want to delegate this power to another umpire. That's why they do appoint professors, people of proven integrity in the society. Come and do this thing for us, so that the whole world can know that even despite the fact that we have our own resident electoral commissioner, we still want you as returning officer to come and conduct this election under the supervision of resident electoral commissioner and INEC federal commissioner over there. So their own is just to monitor and see where things might want to have some hiccups for them to intervene. But this situation did not call for resident electoral commissioner to even announce the election, because as at the time the announcement was made, 10 local governments out of 20 were just being gotten. So it has not called for it, and the rec man took it upon himself and announced. I think he's been interrogated now, and he will be able to tell the whole world what led to that. But it is very, very bad. We've never had this in the history of Nigeria, and I want to believe if his crime is proven beyond a reasonable doubt, or if he can defend himself, that is when he will not spend behind bars 36 months imprisonment. But if he can prove that there is a reason, which I don't see any reason in that circumstance, I want to believe this man will have to be jailed for 36 months imprisonment.
And that's what the law says.
That's what the law says.
Okay, now looking at the video of that declaration that is everywhere on the internet now, like they say, the internet does not forget. It's going to be there for years to come. Now, the table on which the resident electoral commissioner, together with his cohorts who are majorly security operatives, made that declaration was empty. Ordinarily, I mean, we would see traditionally there will be sheets, EC sheets, CCA sheets, or what do they call it, result sheets and everything, yes, scattered all over the table, but there was nothing of such on that table. And that is an indication that probably there was a situation that warranted that declaration. Now, as a politician who has been in the game of these of politics for a while now. What do you think could have, in your own opinion, could have led the rec to, commit such a heinous crime now, according to the law? It's criminal for him to have done that, right?
Well, we've been discussing this matter in public places in the last few days, and each time the matter comes up, I tell the people that this rec, who have been a rec, he was a former VC of an institution, and with his pedigree, I think that he must not have been mad. There must have been a basis for what he did. And I don't think up to now whether he has been given such an opportunity to allow him
fair
hearing to let us know what has really pushed him to do what he did. Ordinarily, there was an agreement on Saturday night when they were closing that the studio, that is where the election was to be announced, was going to reopen at 11 a.m. And his own action came in at about 9 a.m. before the appointed time. And so, having done that, people are now asking, why did he have to do it before 11? And with a handful of people that were with him, without the returning officer. As at that time, where was the returning officer? These are various questions that nobody can actually answer at the moment. But I think the proper thing had not been done by the rec.
And to think that the declaration was made on Twitter.
Yes, the declaration was made with the way the declaration was made. It was not a perfect job, because only 3 agents or 3 political parties had their agents available at that place, and the returning officer of Adamawa was not there. Do you remember also that INEC had sent in 2 national commissioners who were supposed to be on seat while the collation was going on? Those 2 also were not there. So nobody will be able to say where were those 2 national commissioners as at that time when that thing was happening. Where was the returning officer as at that moment? What warranted this man to have taken that decision? So I believe that in the next few days that INEC is going to set up a panel to give this man a fair hearing, because we would like to know exactly what had transpired. I believe he's not a madman. There must have been a basis. But irrespective of that, we discovered that he had gone against the Electoral Act, because the Electoral Act does not permit the rec to declare results. And if he's doing so, he must have a basis for it. And so I was waiting to see what was going to be the position of INEC. And sincerely, INEC had done well, coming immediately to nip the whole issue at the board immediately, announcing that this man has questions to answer, and immediately going ahead. But when I look into the election of that place, for that woman, the Aisha Benani, to have secured, because the difference in their vote is about 30,000 plus between
31,000.
31,000 Fintiri, yes.
31,000. Okay.
About 31,000.
About 31,000. No, I mean the final result that was declared is 30,073 votes. That was the difference between her and the sitting governor, which shows that woman was a very popular person in Adamawa. And I am thinking that something must have warranted, that space. Adamawa is a place where ordinarily, because of their culture, because of their custom, probably may not want a woman to come and rule over them. All these things are possibilities. But what exactly happened, nobody can tell, because we have not heard from that man. And I don't know if he has whether he had put himself together at the moment, because the way he was beaten and his clothes torn and everything was very much absurd.
Okay, now immediately that happened, the timely intervention of the electoral umpire saved the state from a lot of issues that could have probably degenerated into a state of anarchy. But on Tuesday, there was a meeting held by some of the officials of INEC, and in that meeting, it was resolved that there would be a full-fledged investigation into the matter to know exactly what transpired, what went on. But while all this were going on, there were allegations leveled against the REC himself. And some of these allegations bordered around bribery and corruption. Some said he collected 2 billion naira from Mrs. Benani, even though Mrs. Benani has come out to say that she did not give any such money to anyone for her to win the election. If found guilty of getting such money from an aspirant or from a candidate, what does the law say? What should be the consequence in the event that happens?
To link it to what Engineer Labi just said, in law, you don't presume that the presumption, no matter how gigantic it may be, cannot stand an iota of an evidence. You can't be you can't be a judge in your own cause, especially in a situation where you are given a responsibility of being an umpire. Being an umpire means you don't know anybody. The scale of justice, you see the person that is holding the sword, the face is covered. It can even cut herself. And what that portends is, in a situation like that, there are laid down rules. Did the REC connect even to the headquarters to say, oh, this is what may likely happen or what he had seen? Because we heard from some school of thought that the returning officer had colluded with PDP, and that's why he took that decision. But he can also make a declaration, even via internet, not even by the laid down rules. And by the time you look at all this, the law is very, very straight. Do this. If you don't do this, this is what is going to happen to you. Like in section 115, section 115, subsection 1A, a person who forges any okay, this one is not even, this is about nomination. But there is a particular section, I am going to get it in the course of our discussion, that says that anybody that takes it upon himself to declare an election wrongfully, or like a situation that we are painting now, that person is punishable for 36-month imprisonment, no option of fine. And I want to say that before anybody can be made to be resident electoral commissioner, thank God they said the man was once a vice chancellor of a university, a professor for that matter. They must have been engaged in some level of retreats. They must have, and this person that we're talking about was not just appointed yesterday. They must have been member of INEC for almost 3-4 years, because it is only returning officer that you only appoint during election time, and before they can still be allowed to even conduct that election, they must have engaged them in some level of induction, orientation, and what have you. So for somebody who has been with INEC for 4 years or 3 years, and he makes such salient mistake, that person is punishable under the law. The law will not want to entertain either the person is ignorant or the person acted out of malice or out of spite or out of sympathy. No, ignorance is not an excuse before anybody. In fact, if that person were to be a lawyer, I think they said he's a lawyer. If he's a lawyer, his own punishment will be grievous than somebody who's not a lawyer. So I want to believe if that matter is presented before a judge, the judge will ask about the disposition of such a person. Who are you? What do you do? Either through examination or cross-examination. And in that place, that will form even the judgment of whoever that wants to give such judgment. Though the person will walk according to what the Lord has laid down. Yes, in some situation they want to ask for mitigation or allocutus or what have you, but I want to believe the law will frown at such person, and I want to believe the law will not want to have any mitigation or soft landing for such person, especially when the person is a lawyer.
Okay, now let's take a critical look at the way INEC has been carrying on, under the leadership of Mr. Yakubu. There are still issues regarding the last election that a lot of Nigerians are still talking about, either positive or negative, but that is not to say that there are no issues that have been raised against Mr. Yakubu regarding that election. And now the Adamawa situation again, even though INEC was swift, to intervene, but then if there were proper regulatory systems in place within the umpire, probably the rec would not have done what he did in the first place. Because how would you assess Mr. Yakubu and how he's been handling INEC since he got?
Well, uneasy lies the head that wears
the crown.
The crown. It is easy for people to jump to the street to crucify. INEC is not doing well. INEC is doing this. INEC is doing that. Because normally one should expect that INEC will not favor everybody. If INEC is to come out clean and operate the way within the limits of his authority, I know that not everybody will be happy with him. Well, sincerely speaking, I want to give it to INEC that INEC has really tried its own best. But their best may not be enough at this moment. But we will keep on trying more and more, trying to perfect his activities. Now we are seeing that this is the first time that beavers will be introduced and used in election. And whatever are the issues at this moment, I believe that over time INEC is going to improve on that. Relatively, looking at the general election, Mahmood has done his bit. Mahmood has tried his best within the law, within the ambit of the framework that is on ground. And I want to tell you that there are regulations. The Electoral Act is the framework with which INEC must operate with. And I think they have been, working with that also. I'm not a lawyer, but the lawyers will tell us in Section 63, Section 64, and 65 of the Electoral Act will tell us about how this thing should be conducted, who is supposed to be the announcer of the result, and all these things are in that section of the Electoral Act. And so, following from that, you discover that Mahmood had done his best. And for the fact that INEC sent 2 national commissioners to Adamawa, and so even if the REC got angry by saying there was manipulation somewhere, some people were trying to declare what was not supposed to be declared, if that is what motivated him to go and announce a result, he should also have discussed with the national commissioners of INEC that were on ground at that moment. And so we see that was a big lacuna, that he didn't do so, especially when he does not have the power to do what he did. But like I said earlier, the man, I am sure, is not a madman. and there must be a basis for his action. But Nigerians are eager to know the basis for such action. But relatively, the way people are blaming Mahmoud here and there, if others, you know, the things, I mean, the election procedure in Nigeria is getting better and better by the day, because we can't compare the INEC of now with the INEC of Maurice Iwu in the early 2000, when Maurice Iwu was the chairman. When there was snatching of ballot boxes and all these things here and there, you can't compare it. But what people complain about is that results was not being uploaded on the IREV, and that is not to mean that INEC has not done its bit. I read on the pages of social media yesterday how people, even influential people, criticizing Mahmoud. I'm not one of them that should criticize Mahmoud. And in this matter, this Adamawa issue, the man has acted very smartly and swiftly also, and so all those actions should be commended.
Would you say that with the level of advancement that the electoral systems across the globe have been seeing, especially in developed countries, would you expect that the Nigeria of now will still be stuck somewhere in the era of Maurice Iwu, where everything was basically done without any technological effect? Nothing, everything was just what's the word to use now? Haphazardly. There was no structure, there was no framework. Would you expect Nigeria to still be stuck in that kind of situation?
No, it's not possible again. Like I told you, we have moved and we will keep on moving. I want to tell you that there is no place in the world
are we moving progressively and effectively?
Yes,
that's the question.
Yes, we are actually moving. We are actually moving because in the last general election we did not use beavers, and today we are using beavers. And being the first time the beavers arrangement is in place, it may not be perfect. I believe that subsequent election is going to be better than what we have.
So that was probably our learning curve, right?
Yes.
Why will somebody not even comment INEC?
But I want to say that there is no perfection in any election in any part of the world. There is no perfection anywhere. We saw what happened in the election of US in their last election, when Trump alleged that there was manipulation of results and all these things, even in the US. So when I see people write letter now, writing to US to stop the inauguration of Bola Tinubu based on the fact of a perceived mind that the election was rigged, the election was not rigged, I just laugh, because even the US is facing their own issues too, issues of corruption.
Maybe on a different level.
It may be on a different level, of course.
In fact, why will somebody not commend INEC? Number one, if you cannot be captured, the next thing they will do is an alternative. They will say, let us check from the register. Many people have been using that as an excuse. People whom their faces could not be captured. But this time around, we now have beavers. And not even faces that time. Your thumbprint. If your thumbprint cannot be captured, they will now say, okay, let us use alternative. Incidental opportunity. Then by the time you use it, we have seen situations where many people have used that to garner some votes and win election. But Beaver said no. My uncle tried 4 times. He could not be captured and he did not vote. We have seen that. So, and in a situation where even those figures that people used to record before, in some places they used to allocate for themselves. In some places you see when people register about 2 million people, you still see about 1 million 900 and something numbers, and they will say they voted. And this time around, people who had 2 point something million, only 500 people came to vote. I don't know why people will not comment or praise INEC to the high heaven for this wonderful job. And Nigerians must know that a malnutritious child is not fed back to his normal stature in a day. A child that is suffering from kwashiorkor, you want this child to have his normal stature just in a day. You give him beans, you give him yam, you give him rice. That child will die quickly. It is better we move the way we have decided to move. And we are moving and we are progressing. And some of the machines that we're even using were not manufactured by us. So if we are even leveling up with countries that gave us the machine that we are using, I think we are doing well. We are doing better.
Okay. Now we have Mr. Tolu Babaleye with us now. Good morning, Mr. Babaleye.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Okay, so we've been discussing the Adamawa situation and the role of INEC, the role of security operatives, and what the law says about this situation. I'd like to take your view on it.
What happened at Adamawa was unfortunate in the sense that the REC wanted to put a black spot on the performance of INEC. He wanted INEC to be called a bad name so that people who are very angry with INEC because of the outcome of the last election have an opportunity to further chastise and but INEC disappointed the man by coming up promptly to say this is not our position. They use their power under Section 65 of the Electoral Act to nullify the illegal return, and they have done the property, which is good in law. But that should not be the end. INEC has tried his best to say they disown the man and wrote to his appointer, which is the president of the country through the secretary of the government secretary.
And he's been suspended.
So, yeah, he has been suspended from INEC, but INEC cannot remove him from office. It's only his appointer, with the president of Nigeria, that can do that. And that is why they have written to the secretary to the government of the federation to take a decision on him. Apart from that, INEC has written to the Director General of Police to investigate him and prosecute him if need be. Because what he has done is not only illegal, but immoral and sacrilegious. And if he is found guilty of the various allegations of two periods, he will go in for it for 36 months, as stipulated, I think it's Section 120 or 121 of the Electoral Act. And as it is at the moment, the man has not done well. Then I listened to Comrade Gani Mohammed, who said the man was beaten. No, that was not the man that was beaten. The man that appeared in the video that all of us watched that was beaten is the federal commissioner that was in charge of that election. But because the people could not get the REC, they now vented their anger through a transfer of aggression on that federal commissioner, which is very unfortunate. The man that was beaten is not the REC. So I want it to be on record so that we can give
first off, we don't have Comrade Gani Mohammed is not here to start with, and
yes, but somebody in the studio said it that the REC was not the REC. It was the federal commissioner in charge of that election that was beaten, not correct. So, what as it is, the INEC has done the needful. They have returned the proper person that won that election, and I think Nigerians should move forward from that. But we are calling for a serious punishment for that REC, so as to serve as a deterrent and to discourage such a thing in the future.
Yes, and that's the reason we're even discussing the issue on this table this morning. The last I read, the president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu has congratulated the governor-elect in Adamawa, that's Mr. Amado Fintiri, and of course he also called for for an investigation into the matter. Now let us critically look at some of the things that Mr. Johnson Alabi has said before. He said there could be some justification for what he did. Do you believe so as well?
There cannot be justification for that emergency. No matter what the justification is, there is no law or rules of INEC that gave him the authority to announce election. Because the law is very straightforward that only the returning officer can announce the result of an election. So nothing can justify it. Assuming that the returning officer was not available to do his job at that level, as a REC, is only expected to report to Abuja or to report to the federal commissioner in charge of that state. So say this is my situation. How do we go about it? And the people will meet and take the best decision by appointing maybe another returning officer, not the reg taking it upon himself to breach the law in the full glare of the camera and announce a result without even a paper. Without a paper, when the collation was still going on. I don't think we should justify this. We should all condemn it, even though I mean, some people may have sympathy for it based on political lining, but I don't think that we should put politics into this at this level. Because what is bad is bad. It's not only for APC. It can happen to anybody tomorrow. It can happen to APC, it can happen to PDP. But all we know is that an institution that is starting with the responsibility of impartiality should appear impartial. So there is nothing that can justify that kind of thing that the man has done, and it should go to jail for it.
Okay, because the reason I asked also is because the rec put a lot of things on the line. His career, his reputation, his integrity, and I'm sure he was aware that that would not go without its own consequences. What do you think would have emboldened him to have gone that far to commit such an illegality?
But if you look at the antecedents of that election, from the day the first election was held on March 18th, there has been an allegation against that rec that it was in favor of the PDP candidate in that election. I mean, APC candidate in that election. APC also in the state also alleged that the returning officer was in favor of PDP. So the allegation is neither here nor there. But as a rec, he took the oath to remain partial as an INEC official. So what I think should have emboldened him is that he has not acted alone. That is just my view. Because if you look at if you watch that video, you will see that the commissioner of police of that state was on seat. The director general of SSS of that state was on seat. The head of security defense, Nigerian defense, was on seat. Civil defense was on seat. So these people aided him. They should go down with him. All of them should be prosecuted because they ought to stop that kind of illegality. But instead of using the office to stop it, to say no, this is not proper, they went to aid the man. And there is an allegation in the public there now that the man must have taken 2 billion. And you know, when you take 2 billion, the man will down the consequence. Assuming it is true, you see an allegation. I am not confirming it, but that is the allegation the public get. But Binani, the APC candidate has denied it.
Refuting the claim.
It denied it, but it does not. It should not stop at that just mere denial. There should be an investigation by APC or EFCC to really know whether any money is taken, whether money was given to the man or given to any of his family or crony. So it is when we investigate all this, that is when the only time we can come with the verdict that the man has not been bribed. Because I do not believe that anybody will act in that kind of manner, put his name, put the name of his family, put his integrity, put everything about him, and to make the matter one, the man is a senior lawyer. So I don't think a lawyer of that at that level will do that kind of thing if there is no serious inducement.
Could he have acted under duress? Is that possible?
There's no. If you look at the situation, you ask for my opinion, there's no duress. Because all the security agencies were with him. And if some people were even challenging him there, that don't do it. You cannot do it. But the man went ahead and did it and said the result of the election, APC candidate won. Just 2 seconds, this man declared the result and he left the bedroom. So what kind of influence is that? There's nothing like that in the situation we have in Adamawa.
We have seen situations where family members are being threatened with death. Sometimes they are being threatened with kidnap, abduction, and everything. And the principal actor, in this case, who is the rec now, might be forced to do whatever bidding has been placed or has been placed before him in that situation. Do you think that's another possibility? Because it's still...
Well, the electoral act has provided for that kind of situation you have just hinted now. That if you are acted under duress, order of influence, where you cannot say no, that the law requires you declare the result there, you now come out. When you come out of that situation, you now go to INEC and say, I acted under duress. We have seen it in Imo. We saw it in Anambra. In this just recent election. We even saw it in Kano with Adodoguwa's election. So the situation of that INEC man, the right man, is different from all those scenarios. From that day, that on was it Saturday now or Sunday that I declared that result now, the man has gone incommunicado. He has not made any statement. He has not regretted his action. So what are we talking about here? So it is a deliberate act, and he must have acted with some people. So those people that he acted with must be filled out, and they must all be charged for conspiracy to undermine the system, and they have to go down for it in accordance with the dictates of the Electoral Act. That is my view, and this my view is just my view as a lawyer, not as a politician. If I'm talking like a politician, then my view might be different.
Now let's talk about the political aspect of this whole thing. The APC has been seen as the party at the center, the ruling party right now. What do you think there could be some sort of influence from the party as well to have emboldened the reg to commit what he did?
Well, we are politicians. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. But when
but Mr. Babale, your tone has gone really cold all of a sudden.
Wow. No, it's really that cold because you said we should talk the political aspect of it. So I want to disagree with you that even in politics, when you are told to enter a fire, you should think twice. It's because it was very obvious that in that election there was no way APC could have won that election. Because from the 18th of March, if you have followed the events in Adamawa State, the man was already leading with 33,000 votes. And the number of votes, that is yet to be cast is about 42,000. And when you look at the pattern of election in Nigeria, there's no way 100% can come out for the election. So even the supplementary election, I think it's about 43% that came out. Because only 16,000 people voted. And even in the election, PDP still won by 9,000, while APC had 6,000. Some other parties had shared the remaining votes. And you discover that even the margin of lead now increased between the time of the first election and the second election. But in all this, I commend that woman, that Mrs. Elijah Binani. She's an Amazon in the savannah, having challenged a city governor. And with that kind of little margin in between them, the woman should be commended. And I also commend the people of North East, because it is the second time they are giving women a chance to get to that kind of level. You remember Mama Taraba in 2019. He was almost a governor until the Supreme Court now did one thing or the other and said no, they should not give it to her. So then you will discover that the South, the Northeast people gave women serious opportunity despite their religion. Despite their religion of Islam that seems to suppress women, that look at women as mere property. They have allowed women to exert in that region. So we have to commend it. And those are the political gains that we have derived from that election. Besides that, the election would have been the best if not for that snag that Malam, they call him now, put in it by trying to declare the legal result. Yunusa, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, Mr. Babale. I really appreciate your time on the program.
I greet my friends, Barrister Omoshua in the studio. I think I heard the voice very well.
He's here.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, well, he has said a lot from his opinions. I deduced that it's totally against what transpired, regardless of what could have led to it or what could have warranted such an action by the reg. He is totally against it. That's contrary to what you believe, that probably some sort of situations could have caused it. Justifiable situations could have caused it.
Yes, even in such a situation, when you know that a person has committed an offense, he must be given a fair hearing. And that is what I'm saying. I'm not justifying that his action is right or wrong. But whether or not we saw him committed the offense or not, he must still be given a fair hearing. That's what our constitution says.
And the
So
fair
what
hearing,
kind
the
of
fair
thing-
hearing,
what-
the fair hearing is in the process.
Yes.
It's going to be investigated.
Yes.
And it's going to be tried before a competent court.
Yes.
And it will be given
And
a
if
fair
it's
hearing.
culpable,
Yes.
then
We should not be in a hurry to
just
for
conclude.
him to have nobody is concluded.
Eh.
But as lawyers, we lay it bare as it is supposed to be. That is exactly what we are doing.
According to the law.
According to the law.
Yes.
Especially for a senior lawyer. Your position is as a civilian, as a politician, as an engineer, you are saying it from your own purview that okay, it should be given a fair hearing. Yes, that fair hearing, we should not be in a hurry to have it. It's coming.
Yes, it will come.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is that if you are already telling us what the end will be, even before
nobody
the
is even
process,
saying that. You know,
then it
in
means
the
that
course of my
there's a problem
discussion,
somewhere.
in the course of my discussion, I said it. I said in a situation like this, nobody knows what must have led to that. I
And
said,
even
but
in addition to that, this matter is not in court
it's
yet.
not in court
Yes,
yet.
it's not in court.
So
Yes.
I think you still have the liberty.
The liberty.
to
So
talk
no,
about
but
it.
the
You're
law
not
will
having to preempt.
the law will state it the way it is that anybody that does this so thing should happen to the person. That's exactly what
Now,
the law says.
going forward, INEC has suspended Mr. Ari from, being part of the umpire.
Yeah.
Do you think that's enough punishment for him?
No, that's not enough punishment. That is the first thing. Even in the relationship between an employee and employer, the first thing that normally happens first is a query will be issued. When a query is issued, you answer the query. Then they may set up a committee which might form this investigation process. But INEC might do that within INEC before even saying police should, prosecute or investigate. But I want to believe, even if INEC does that, INEC will still present the rec even to the police to do their assignment. Even in a military circle, whenever any military person does anything criminal, the first thing they do is they will court-martial the person, then they will now release the person even to the civil law. Civil court. So in a situation like this, when the first thing that has to be done to the rec is for the rec to be suspended. Even in the police, even in the military, the first thing they will do is they will do their own court-martial, and the next thing is, okay, we release you to the civil court for trial. And I want to believe after the rec is being suspended now, the next thing, as we've just heard, is that the police should carry out investigation. And it is through this investigation that whatever charges, if it's found culpable, if police thinks that he has any case to answer, it will be tried in the law court, and for the reason of the provision of the law, he will be tried. If he can prove himself beyond reasonable doubt that he has not committed any offense, I think he will enjoy his liberty. But if he's found guilty, he will go in for it.
Okay.
So that it's been suspended is not enough. It's not enough because the laws is there. The laws are there. Rather, the laws are there. If you do this, this is what will happen to you. Even in the 10 Commandments, even when it is being read in the other laws that came thereafter after the 10 Commandments, if you do this, also things shall happen to you.
Okay, now to Mr. Johnson Alabi, because of our time, let's look at the way our electoral cycle has been going. We have some states now that will be having off-cycle election, one of which is Kogi. The primary election was held recently, and we have Almighty Dino Melaye as candidate of the PDP, and APC primary election in Kogi State has been held, and Dino Melaye is candidate of PDP as well.
Yes.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. Now, what exactly do you think the umpire should do to regularize this electoral cycle so that, I mean, we'll be having election at once, all at once. Will be general election in the real sense of it.
Well, I think what I expected actually from the Adamawa election was because that election was an isolated election. And so one expected that the commission would send in more commissioners, more recs to assist in determining that place. But it didn't happen. They only sent 2 national commissioners. And the security was supposed to be beefed up better than it was at the general election. But it didn't happen. So in subsequent elections...
On what basis? Adamawa is
it wasn't security lapses that caused this.
Yes, I have.
And they didn't record some
yes, it's not
violence.
No, when I talk about security now, you know you cited the situation where it was Tolu Babale that talked about the commissioner of police being present where the result was being illegally announced. The DSS was there, the this and that were there. So it looks to me that there was no proper security coordination, and that was why the REC took the advantage of that to do what he did. But then in the subsequent election that will be coming in days, Kogi election, Bayelsa election, and all this thing.
Even Ondo election.
Even Ondo election will be coming in still about a year.
Next year.
Next year. We expect the commission, since it's isolated the way it is, they should more recs should be deployed, more national commissioners should be deployed here, and if possible, the rec of this place should not be allowed to be the supervisory head of the team. They should bring another rec from another place to supervise.
You mean the rec in that state?
The rec in that state. For instance, Ondo, the rec in Ondo state should not be allowed to be the supervisor of that election. Probably another rec from another state and all these things. So all these things should be done before the election. You were talking about Kogi Dino is the candidate of the PDP, and where Yaya Bello are going to pick his cousin as his
from the same unit.
Yeah, from the same house, from the same senatorial district, which had not happened before. In Kogi State has about 21 local governments, and 9 of the local governments from the east, while Central has 6 and West has 5. So it will be unheard of for anybody who is just finishing an 8-year term from the senatorial district to go and pick another person from that senatorial district, especially when they don't have the number when it comes to election. So it's going to be an interesting election in Kogi.
Kogi election is a whole issue on its own.
I think you asked 2 questions.
Yes.
Engineer had answered one. The second one is
regularizing of cycle election.
The cycle. Just the way we were all born at different times and we leave the world at different times. I don't see anything that will regularize our pattern of of conducting election as far as states are concerned. The reason being that situations of going to court after election is what has made Ondo State now to be where it is now. And like other states that have their own other elections at different times. So, and a situation that can call for it is when our democracy is shut down and we start at fresh. If it is not shut down and we don't pray for it, because we know situation that can call for that, so we don't pray for it. If it is not shut down, we are going to continue like this till when Jesus will come. Now, to make an allusion to what engineer said, I have never, in my entire life, I've never seen the situation that we are experiencing presently in Kogi State. And when we talk about violence in election, We politicians are the one that are the root causes of this violence. When you have stayed for 8 years, Kogi is divided into, let me say, 3 major ethnic groups. You have the Ebiras, you have the Igalas, you have the Okuns. You now have a very minority, Basange people, who have not even tested it in any way. They have not even been secretary to the government. They have not been speaker of the house. They have not, But a situation where an Ibra man has spent 8 years, I think it is commonsensical for another tribe, even if it is. I am talking as a Nigerian now,
okay,
and I'm talking as an opinionated person. And mind you, this is my party. I don't expect that somebody that is leaving that position should even appoint somebody from that area, even to the extent of somebody from his own clan.
Okay, quickly, let's take a few comments from Facebook. Olumide Omudowale says, as much as the wreck is guilty, Benani herself should and must be questioned. This is a dent on the image of PMB administration. What a way to sign out. Okay, Ogundawale says, from all indications, Omo Dennis Orido, from all indications, the resident electoral commissioner in context has no constitutional right to have made such announcements of incomplete results and declaration of winner. And as such, there's no basis, tenable or verifiable reason for his unconstitutional act. Thank you very much. Timi Agba Temiro says, this is the height of illegality. The wreck should be prosecuted and it must not stop at just suspension. And the last one here, Akinyede Tokpe said, good morning. Nigeria is full of hypocrites. The crime of Adamawa resident electoral commissioner is that he didn't follow the electoral guidelines. Now tell me, did INEC chairman also follow the guidelines on February 25? That question is totally rhetoric. I don't know.
Rhetoric,
but
the man followed the rule. The man followed the rule.
I think he was referring to the electoral act. That
he followed the electoral act. If anybody thinks Mahmoud has not followed the electoral act, that person should go to court
and challenge it.
And go and challenge it.
Our time is fast spent. We have to run now. Thank you very much for being on the program this morning. Mr. Femi Omoshiwa, good to have you.
Thank
and
you
Mr. Johnson Anabi, it's nice to have you on the show. Appreciation to Mr. Tolu Babale as well, who joined us all the way from Abuja. Next week, Thursday, we'll be back with another topic. My name is Olabisi Olani Yoluwa Shegun. Good morning.